Hello friends, it's Lisa, and today we have a very exciting video because I'm going to be sharing my TBR for the spring equinox edition of the Magical Readathon. The Magical Readathon is a readathon hosted by G over at the channel Book Roast. I will have her video kind of going over the basic information and layout of the readathon linked below because I feel like I always do a poor job of explaining this readathon. There is so much thought and care put into this readathon that I feel like my explanation never does it justice, but it's such a fun readathon that I've participated in the past few years, and since G has kind of created this orilium academy and created her own world and story that is like the basis for this readathon, it's just been so much fun to participate in. So of course I'm doing it again this year. So the orilium magical readathon is a month-long readathon that happens in April and August. So the April edition, the spring equinox, is coming up, and I once again am going with my Star Whisperer calling. Essentially for this readathon, you pick a calling, basically like a career or a path you want to study, and you pick that, and then there are certain classes, aka certain prompts, that you have to complete within the month in order to pass. And so last year I decided to go with the Star Whisperer calling, and that is what I'm going to do again this year. I'm going to continue my studies there. And for the Star Whisperer calling in the month of April for the spring equinox, I have 5 classes that I have to take, so 5 prompts that I have to fulfill, and I thought it'd be fun to go over the books I'm planning to read for those prompts, so that's what we're doing here. I have on all of my celestial star moon type of jewelry. I'm ready to go, and let's just hop into the TBR and talk about what books I'm planning to read in April. So like I was saying, there are 5 classes that I have to take, so 5 prompts that I have to fulfill in the month of April, and if you see me looking over here, that's where my laptop is with all of this information. So the first class I have to take is for Art of Illusion, and we're going to be learning about shadow play this year. And so the prompt for that is to read a book with the word game or play in the title. And at first this seemed like a little bit of a tricky one because I don't think that I have any books on my physical TBR with the word game or play in them. And I don't know, I was just like going through Libby, going through my Kindle wish list, like just everything. I was just looking for a book that had the word game or play in the title. And then I found something and I went, oh, this is actually kind of perfect. So I think for this prompt, I'm going to read The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. This is the second book in the Girl Meets Duke historical romance series. I read the first one, I think that was a couple years ago now, The Duchess Deal, which I loved. It was one of my favorite books of that year, and so I've been wanting to continue on with the series. I recently did a video where I talked about books I wanted to reread, and I said I wanted to reread The Duchess Deal and then continue on with the series. Even though I don't need to reread The Duchess Deal, they're all like standalone historical romance novels. They just kind of have like characters that cross over, like they're companion novels, I guess. But I thought it would be fun to reread The Duchess Deal and then continue on with the series, especially because continuing on with series is a big goal for me this year. So it just kind of lined up perfectly that this has game in the title. It will work for this prompt, and then I'll be able to continue on with this series. I'm very excited. I don't actually remember or really know what this second one is about because, like I was saying, these are like companion novels. So I know that the main character of The Governess Game we did meet in The Duchess Deal, the first book. Like the main character from that book, Emma, she becomes friends with these groups of girls, and those girls are all going to be the main characters in the rest of the series. So in this one, we're going to be following Alexandra, and it says she takes on an impossible post, transforming a pair of wild orphans into proper young ladies. However, the girls don't need discipline, they need a loving home. Try telling that to their guardian, Chase Renaud. Don't know. The Duke's heir in the streets and devil in the sheets. Oh god. Sometimes historical romance descriptions are just a little bit silly, but I'm so excited to continue on with this series. I loved The Duchess Deal, like I said, so I think this is going to be really fun. It sounds like she's going to be trying to turn an infamous rake into someone that can be a bit more settled down and take care of these children, so it seems like it's going to be very, very fun. I'm very excited to read this. So the next class is for astronomy, and we are going to be continuing our studies of the constellations. We are now at the level 3 level, and so the prompt for this is to read a zodiac recommendation. So basically you just have to find a book that is recommended to your zodiac sign. So I am a Leo, so I went searching for some recommendations for Leos. I actually did a video a few years ago where I read books that were recommended to Leos, so I went back to some of those references and websites and videos that I referenced then and tried to find even more, and I ended up finding a video from Katie Colson, recommending books to the zodiac signs. And after doing a lot of searching, when I found Katie's video and I saw what she recommended, I just knew that I had to go with Katie's recommendation because she recommended 3 things. One being Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I've already read and is one of my favorite books, so love that. She also recommended Gone Girl, which I've also already read, but then she recommended a 3rd thing. And when she recommended this, I was so excited. I have been wanting to read this book and start this series for so long. It just seems like such a me series and book. I just don't know how to explain it. Like, it just feels like it's gonna be something that I love. So when I saw Katie recommend this for Leos, I knew I had to go with this one. And that's A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. This is the first book in the Veronica Speedball series. So this is a historical, like, mystery series. I think it's set in the Victorian era. And there's also, like, everyone talks about the slow burn romance that happens throughout this series, which obviously seems very exciting to me. But just the whole idea of this being like a historical mystery series with this slow burn romance happening in the background between Veronica and Stoker, I've heard so much about them, so I'm very excited. But also the fact that they keep getting into these different mysteries. I think each book in the series, there's a different mystery that they get swept up in and have to try and solve. And it just seems so fun. This just seems like something I'm going to love. I don't know why, I just have such a good feeling about it. And I just feel like the way people talk about these books and this series as a whole, like, I don't know, I just get such a good vibe from it. I've been wanting to read it for so long, and I recently finally bought myself a copy of this first book. So when I saw Katie recommend this, I knew I had to go with this one. So yeah, this is what I'm going to be reading for the astronomy class, and I could not be more excited. I'm so excited to get into this series. I just think it's going to be right up my alley. Okay, so the next class I have to take is for inscription, and we're going to be studying typography this semester. And so the prompt for this one is really fun. It's to write down 3 book titles and then randomly pick one, and then that's the book you have to read. So of course, I'm going to make this a little bit more difficult for myself than I need to. This prompt is definitely for the mood readers, which is definitely more my reading style. And when I was trying to figure out what 3 books I wanted to write down, I ended up coming up with 10 book options. So what I decided to do is I wrote down all 10 options that I came up with, and I folded them up and put the paper in here in my Taylor Swift Eras Tour cup that I spent a stupid amount of money to get lemonade in, but that's fine. But I wrote down all 10 options that I had because I couldn't narrow it down to just 3. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to choose 3 from my 10 options, and then we'll put those 3 back in the cup, and then I will choose one of those 3. Does that make sense? So for the 10 options that we have in the cup, I have Winterkeep by Kristen Cashore. This is one of the books in the Graceling series, and I think I've read all of the other books in this series during the Magical Readathon, so it just seemed appropriate. And then I also wrote down The Herb Witch Princess, What the River Knows, Girl Made of Stars, Every Heart a Doorway, Long Shadow, With These Last Breaths, A River Enchanted, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and With a Little Luck. So all books that are like a part of series that I want to continue on with. Again, that goal of me wanting to continue and finish some series that I've started, I try to focus on that with these books that I chose. We also have some books I'm just excited to read. I do have a book that's like the start of a series, some rereads. Basically, we have a collection of things in this list of 10 books. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick 3 options from those 10 book options that are in here. And then once we have the 3, I'll choose from those 3. And I'll try not to edit any cuts out so you can see what I genuinely am picking. So, okay, that's one of them. Why did I have a feeling I was going to pick this? I got Every Heart a Doorway, which is actually a reread for me. The first time I read it was during the Magical Readathon in 2020, so that's kind of weird. But I want to continue on with this series, so I want to do a reread of the first one. So that's our first option. Then we need to pick a second. So what are we going to get? Why is this so nerve-wracking? Like, it shouldn't be that stressful. Let's see. Oh, With These Last Breaths was the second one that I got. I don't know if my phone is going to focus on these, but this is the 3rd book and final book in the Ailing Seas series. Is that what it's called? By Vanessa Rassinen. It's like a fantasy romance with pirates. It's a lot of fun, and the books are finally back on Kindle Unlimited, so I want to read the 3rd one and finish the series. Now we have the last 3rd one that I have to choose. I'm stressed. I'm nervous. Why am I nervous? I want to read all these books. It shouldn't matter. Oh, okay. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Okay. So we have Every Heart a Doorway with these last breaths. I always get those titles confused. And The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Lots of tongue twisters in there. So those are my three options. I'm going to take the other pieces of paper out. So now the cup's empty. I'm going to put these three back in the cup, and now we're going to choose what I'm actually going to read for this prompt. I don't know why I made this more difficult for myself. It just, I don't know. I wanted to have lots of options. Okay, I'm not going to look. There's definitely some that I'm more excited to read than others, but honestly, I'd be happy with any of them. I just think Every Heart a Doorway is the one that I'm not the most excited to read. My prayers were answered. I got The Serpent and the Wings of Night. That is what I'm going to read for this prompt. Okay, that's exciting. I don't even know what the series is about. I think there's vampires. Is that right? Am I making that up? I don't know, but I'm going to show you again. I don't know if it's focusing, but there's the proof. Serpent and the Wings of Night. That is what I'm going to read for this prompt. Okay, that was like a last minute addition too, because I just saw that the third book in this series like recently got announced, like the cover was recently announced. So I went, oh, I kind of want to read that series, and added it to the list of options. And then we ended up getting it. So that's what we're going to read for this prompt. And I also kind of feel like this is the type of prompt that I may end up redoing in the month of April if I don't end up feeling like reading this. I feel like this is very, like I said, a good prompt for like mood readers. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But The Serpent and the Wings of Night is what I will plan to read for this prompt. I'm very excited. Like I said, I don't really know too much about this book and this series. I know that it's fantasy romance. I think there's vampires, and I also think there's like a competition element to this as well. And it just seems like it's going to be a really fun time. I'm very excited to get into this one. So the next class that I have to take is the lore class, but this spring equinox, this semester, this class is getting interrupted. So the prompt for this is to read The Legend of Dia, which is something that G over at Book Roast, she wrote up for this magical readathon. It's part of the lore of the orilium Academy and this universe and this world. And I think The Legend of Dia is going to be influencing like the side quests that happen during this readathon, because that's a whole thing that I don't typically participate in, but there are like side quests and like certain prompts that you can do on the side as well as your like prompts for your calling. It's just like an extra bonus fun thing that you can do. And I think The Legend of Dia is going to be influencing those side quests this time around. So she wants us to reread that so we can know what we're getting into with those side quests. And to be honest, this setup for like getting more of the lore of this world and seeing how it's influencing this side quest makes me want to potentially do the side quest this time around. How many times have I said side quests? But yeah, we'll see. Obviously, that's like extra prompts and extra reading that you'd have to do, not just in April. I think you can do it up until the August month-long readathon, the autumn equinox. So I have more time to do that. I may partake in that, I don't know. But for the lore prompt, for me to complete that, I have to read The Legend of Dia, that story that G has created. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's a very easy prompt. I'm kind of glad that I got it, to be honest, because that's one less book that I have to actually read for the month of April. So that's great for me. And then the fifth and final class and prompt that I have to complete. The class is for psionics and divination, and we're going to be continuing to learn about clairsentience. We're at level 2 of that, if I'm even saying that correctly. But the prompt for this is prediction bingo. So this is something that G introduced in her own little TBR game series that she's been posting on her channel. And I actually watched some of those vlogs. I saw her do the prediction bingo, and it seems like a lot of fun. So I'm really excited to give it a try. Basically, what you do is you pick a book that you're going to read. Haven't read it yet, but you're gonna make a bingo card of things that you think are going to happen within the book. You're just gonna make predictions as to what might happen, what might be said, what character descriptions might be. Like, you can really write down whatever you want. And so obviously this was a little bit tricky because I'm trying to predict what might happen in a book that I haven't read yet. So I was trying to think of what I could do for this prompt, what book I could pick. So I think what I'm going to do for this prompt, obviously all of this is subject to change because I am a mood mood reader, so this TBR, I feel like it has a good chance of happening, but there might be some changes throughout the month of April. But what I think I'm going to read is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is it's kind of a prequel, actually. I was gonna say it's a sequel. It's actually a prequel to Legends and Lattes, which I read at the end of last year and really, really loved. And so I'm excited to get more from Viv, our main Gorley, our main orc of a character. Love her so much. And in Legends and Lattes, we see her kind of give up all of the wars and bloodshed and the fighting that she was used to doing to open up her coffee shop. And this is actually a prequel to that. And I actually don't really know too much about this one. I assume it takes place in a bookshop, but I haven't really read the description of this and I don't want to. I want to just go in and see what happens. And I feel like because I don't know what's going to happen, it's going to be good for prediction bingo. But at the same time, I have read a book set in this world with this character, and I feel like I might have a general sense of what could potentially happen, what might get mentioned, just general things I think could potentially happen because I've read a book by this author and in this world before. So I feel like this might be an easier one to do a prediction bingo for. I've already tried to think of some things I can put on my prediction bingo. I'm probably going to finalize that in the month of April, and I will be doing like weekly vlogs for the readathon, so you will see my final prediction bingo card before I read this book. But like one of the options that I have, one of the things I'm going to predict is that there's going to be some quotes about bookstores or reading or libraries, just books in general, that is going to hit home. I think because this is a book that's set in a bookshop, I think there's going to be a lot of focus on books and reading, and I feel like there's just going to be some quotes about that I'm just going to love. As a reader and as a book lover, I feel like there's going to be some quotes about that I'm going to appreciate. So that's going to be one of my options for my prediction bingo, but obviously I have to come up with a lot more so that I can see if I can get a prediction bingo, if I can actually get a bingo on my bingo card of predictions for this book. I don't know. I feel like I'm over explaining this. I also feel like I've said prediction and bingo way too much in the last 5 minutes, so apologies. But yeah, this just felt like a good option because it is familiar, but it's still a new story, so I'm not going to know exactly what's going to happen, but I might be able to think of some things for my bingo cards. So I think Bookshops and Bone Dust is going to be what I read for this prompt, and I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a very cozy, whimsical time. But that is it. Those are all of the 5 classes that I have to take for the spring equinox for the magical readathon, and I'm just so excited. Like I said, I love this readathon. It's really the only readathon that I participate in, really, and it's just so much fun. And every year and every time we're approaching one of the month-long readathons, I just get so excited. Like all of March, I'm just anticipating the announcement video. I'm just so excited once again to participate in this readathon. And like I was saying, I am planning on doing weekly vlogs in the month of April for the readathon. Like I always do. I feel like I always do weekly vlogs for this readathon, and I'm just very excited. So let me know if you're participating in the magical readathon this time around, what calling you decided to go with, what you're planning on reading. I'd love to know. And of course, thank you so much to G for once again hosting this wonderful, magical, whimsical readathon. It's so much fun. Like I said, I really do look forward to it every time we're coming up to the spring or autumn equinox. I just love it so much. So thank you once again for putting this together, and it's just such an amazing readathon. So I will have all of the info linked below in the description again if you want to check it out. I highly recommend joining us and participating. It's so much fun and you will not regret it. It's just such a wonderful time. But yeah, I think that is going to be it for my TBR for the magical readathon. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.